Advertising and commercial culture. Think about all the ways that advertising and commercials are thrown at you. Look around your room and see how many different brands of products catch your eye in a glance. Advertising is everywhere, and it's not going away. The earliest ads agencies were newspaper space brokers. These groups bought newspaper space for the sole purpose of selling the space to merchants who, in turn, would pay for the advertisements to be placed in the newspapers. Volney Palmer was the prototype of the first ad agency in 1841, selling space to advertisers for a 25% commission. N.W. Ayer and Son was the first full-service modern ad agency. They worked primarily for advertisers and product companies. At this time, manufacturers realized consumers would ask for their products specifically if they were distinctive and associated with quality. Thus entered the age of trademarks and packaging so that products stood out and were not confused as the competitors. This allowed advertising to let manufacturers establish special identity for their products. 19th century ads created the impression of significant differences among products. Early and enduring brands included Smith Brothers in 1850s, Campbell Soup in 1869, and Quaker Oats in 1877. By the end of the 1800s, 1/6 of all print ads came from patent medicine and drug companies. But these patent medicine ads were often fraudulent, so advertisers developed industry codes, and the Federal Food and Drug Act was passed in part due to patent medicine claims. Department stores comprised more than 20% of ad space by the early 1890s, and just as today, they were frequently criticized for undermining small businesses who could not compete with the lower prices generated by the chains, nor could small businesses afford the advertising budgets. Advertising also had a significant impact on newspapers, as it changed the ratio of copy at most papers. This is why the recent recession hit papers so hard. Advertising led to social changes. For one, we transitioned from producer-directed society to consumer-driven society. Advertising also promoted new technological advances that made life easier. It also emphasized appeals to women, which had been long neglected. And advertising was accused of encouraging consumers to purchase products they didn't really need. This led to the formation of the War Advertising Council. The Ad Council was a voluntary group of agencies and advertisers that organized war bond sales, blood donor drives, and the rationing of scarce goods as a means of promoting a more positive image about advertising. In the early 1900s, several advertising regulation entities, often called watchdogs, were created to keep tabs on deceptive advertising practices and to advocate for the business community. These included the Better Business Bureau, the Audit Bureau of Circulation, the Federal Trade Commission, and the American Association of Advertising Agencies. Television, as it so often has with other mediums, dramatically altered advertising. Subliminal advertising was coined in the 1950s as agencies used hidden or disguised print and visual messages to register in the subconscious and fool people into buying products. Research suggests that subliminal advertising is no more effective than regular advertising, but the National Association of Broadcasters still banned the practice in 1958. So let's take a quick look at the influence of visual design through the past 5 decades. In the 1960s, ad-rich magazines hired European designers as art directors. In the 1970s, agencies developed teams of writers and artists, granting equal status to images and words. The 1980s saw visual techniques of MTV influence many ads and agencies. In the 1990s, advertising mimicked features of the web with drop-down menus. And now, in the 21st century, ads are more three-dimensional and interactive, and the design is simpler as ads and logos need to appear clearly on small screens of smartphones and more international for global audiences. 2 types of agencies to consider are mega agencies and boutique agencies. Mega agencies provide a full range of services, from advertising and PR to operating their own in-house radio and TV production studios. 4 major global mega agencies include WPP Group, Omnicom, Publicis Group, and the Interpublic Group. Boutique agencies specialize in the visual and provide more personal services, devoting their talents to select clients. Peterson Miller Hooks is one such agency. The 4 major areas of an ad agency include the account planner, creative development, media coordination, and account and client management. The account planner develops the advertising strategy and coordinates with market research, which is used to assess the behaviors and attitudes of consumers toward particular products. The methods used in this research include demographics, psychographics, focus groups, and the values and lifestyle strategy. Creative development includes the writers and artists who outline rough sketches of ads, storyboards for television commercials, websites, flash games, downloads, and viral marketing or digital campaigns. Keep in mind that neither the creative nor strategic sides of the business can predict with any certainty which ads and which campaigns will succeed, thus the importance of research so that these professionals can make the most educated decisions possible. Media coordination includes the media buyers who choose and purchase media based on suitability, target audience, and the effectiveness of ads. Because of incentive clauses, saturation advertising that covers the whole gamut of advertising opportunities is widely encouraged. And finally, you have account and client management. These are the executives who bring in new business, manage accounts, and perform account reviews. As with all other media we've discussed, advertising is now going online. And this is a real challenge. It's a new industry, so we have to figure out how to make money. Leading advertisers are moving more of their ad campaigns and budget dollars to digital media. Trends in advertising include developing types of online ads, targeting individuals, and social media advertising. One type of online advertising is the video ads and sponsorships that you'll often see. Rich media is another type of online ad. This includes pop-ups that appear when you go to watch a video on YouTube or when you travel to a website. Another kind of rich media is interstitials, those full-screen ads that cover the interface of their host and that are typically displayed at natural transition points in the flow of an application. Classified ads and email ads are a third type of online ads. And then there is paid search advertising, where website owners pay an advertising fee, usually based on click-throughs or ad views. Online advertisers are also targeting individuals. They do this by collecting information through cookies and online surveys and then advertising accordingly to the target market. They also track ad impressions and click-throughs and then build profiles for consumers based on this information. They also use smartphone technology to tailor ads by geographic location or user demographic. And of course, social media has entered the fray. Social networking sites provide advertisers with a wealth of data. Some sites ask whether users liked each ad. Companies will buy traditional paid ads on social networking sites. This has raised a controversy over whether people must disclose if they are paid to promote a product. 6 kinds of persuasive techniques advertisers use are famous person testimonials, plain folks pitch, snob appeal approach, bandwagon effect, hidden fear appeal, and irritation advertising. The famous person testimonial is just that, hiring a celebrity to endorse your product. It's Peyton Manning selling Papa John's Pizza or Jennifer Garner selling Capital One. Plain folks pitches are just the opposite. Advertisers are trying to find an average Joe to demonstrate that someone just like you has found success and enjoyment with this product or service. The snob appeal approach attempts to persuade audiences that use of a product or service will elevate their social status. You see these a lot in perfume, clothing, and car ads. Bandwagon effects are the standard everybody is doing it and you're going to be missing out or looked down upon if you don't get on board. Hidden fear appeal is aimed at a consumer's insecurity. Naturally, home security systems use this, but so too do personal hygiene products. Irritation advertising is used on the local level. These are generally low-budget, locally produced ads that feature obnoxiously dressed and annoyingly loud pitch persons trying to get you to buy their product. As I do this video for you, I can think of 3 local ads that make me want to scratch my eyes out. One way advertisers get consumers to buy is through the association principle. Consumers associate a product with a positive cultural value or image, even if it has little connection. This is used in most consumer ads. For example, the Marlboro Man was associated with Philip Morris's Marlboro cigarettes, and thus cigarette smokers associated Marlboro with being tough and macho. I'm not going to lie, not much could persuade me to smoke, but being like the Marlboro Man would come close. Disassociation corollary, conversely, is used to form separation. The idea was pioneered in the 1980s as a response to consumer backlash. The public began to distrust major corporations, so they would start dummy corporations and present products as though from smaller independent companies. The nation's largest winery, Gallo, for example, started Bartles and James to sell jug wine and wine coolers. Advertising has been associated with mythology and storytelling. One way to understand it is through myth analysis. Myth analysis considers that most ads are narratives with stories to tell and social conflicts to resolve. 3 common mythical elements found in ads are many stories that feature characters, settings, and plots. Stories involving conflicts in which one character or social value is pitted against another, and conflicts being negotiated or resolved, usually through the use of the product. One clever way of advertising is through product placement. This involves placing ads or buying space in movies, TV shows, comic books, video games, etc. Companies negotiate these rights for buku bucks. For example, in 2013, Man of Steel had 200-plus marketing partners in deals worth $160 million. The watchdog group Commercial Alert petitions the FTC and FCC in 2005 to make it a requirement of those using product placement that consumers be warned. The FTC rejected this mandate, but the FCC did propose placement rules. Naturally, there do exist critical issues in terms of advertising. One is the advertising to children. Action for Children's Television worked to limit advertising aimed at children, particularly with cartoons like G.I. Joe and My Little Pony and Friends that were essentially 30-minute commercials aimed at selling toys. Another concern was the promotion of sugar-coated cereals advertised during children's programming. Because we have First Amendment rights, and because children and teens influence nearly $500 billion a year in family spending, it has been difficult to stop advertisers from targeting youth. Another concern has been advertising in schools. Channel 1 was introduced in 1989-90 to offer free satellite equipment, tuned exclusively to Channel 1, in exchange for a 12-minute package of current events programming that included 2 minutes of commercials. Concerns were that TV was now intruding on the educational grounds, that lower-income students were more than twice as likely to have Channel 1 as affluent schools, and, at least in the beginning, that products such as fast food were being advertised. It also determined that while they did get 12 minutes of current events programming, the students didn't remember the programming, they remembered the commercials. Another critical issue in advertising has been the impact of health, particularly when the use of ultra-thin models has been linked to eating disorders, and when products such as tobacco, alcohol, and prescription drugs are advertised. Some have argued that glamorization of tobacco and alcohol, the potential for false or misleading claims in prescription drug ads, and again, the concerns over distorted body image have made it necessary to restrict these sorts of ads. But again, the First Amendment does offer protection against all bans. So where you have concerns, you have watchdogs and advocacy organizations. Groups like Commercial Alert, Better Business Bureau, and National Consumers League keep a keen eye on advertisers and their practices. Their primary areas of oversight and reach, excessive commercialization, and false advertising. By excessive commercialism, we mean how advertising has crept out of its proper spheres through cross-promotion. For example, Warner Brothers partnered with Hardee's for Man of Steel because it could not be reached through traditional advertising means. Groups like Commercial Alert highlight these activities to make the public aware that they are being cajoled or patronized where they otherwise might not even realize it. The Federal Trade Commission has been most concerned with the difference between puffery and outright deception. Puffery is hyperbole and exaggeration and has generally been accepted. Deception and lying, on the other hand, have not. As an alternative voice, some advertisers speak out against the negative. In 1998, as part of a multi-billion-dollar settlement between the government and the tobacco industry, a nonprofit organization was created to counteract tobacco marketing and reduce youth tobacco use. The Truth Campaign is a national youth smoking prevention campaign that works to deconstruct the images that have long been associated with cigarette ads. It is recognized by 80% of teens and by 2007 ranked in the top 10 of most memorable teen brands. Political advertising is the use of ad techniques to promote a candidate's image and persuade the public to adopt a viewpoint. But the big question, can serious information be conveyed in 30-second spots? I think we can all agree that political advertising has gotten incredibly ugly as many candidates choose to degrade the opposition because 30 seconds is not a lot of time to sell one's own point of view. One big debate in political advertising is the concept of free airtime for politicians. Although they use the public airways, it is opposed by broadcasters as political advertising is big business for television stations. In 2008, almost $5.3 billion was spent on advertising by all presidential and congressional candidates and interest groups. That number grew to nearly $6.3 billion in 2012, with more than $1.1 billion spent on local broadcast TV. Although commercialism through packaging, products, services, and ideals has generated cultural feedback critical of the industry's pervasiveness, the advertising has not diminished. It is often viewed as a necessary evil as we continue to seek the newest and best products. Ad slogans, jingles, and trademarks permeate our minds and fill our eyes and ears. And as long as that continues, the public will continue to maintain an uneasy relationship with advertising.